welcome to our session today about building .NET Aspire integrations. I'm Aaron, and I'm joined here with David Pine. David, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm David Pine, the co-host of on .NET Live and the content developer for .NET Aspire. So if you've been seeing or reading anything about .NET Aspire, I likely was involved with writing that content. So sorry, not sorry.
Well, I mean, hopefully that if we get time for Q&A at the end, you'll be able to definitely answer the questions, given that you wrote the docs on it.
Yeah. Awesome. So what are we doing today? What's the plan? I know we're the final session, so we gotta end with a bang.
Exactly. Well, I thought, given all the exciting stuff that we've been talking about with .NET Aspire in particular over the last, well, essentially 2 days, let's talk about how we actually extended ourselves, because there's a whole bunch of great integrations that have already been built, but, well, there's possibly something that you need in your application that you don't already have. So how do you go about adding that yourself?
Right.
So there's a whole bunch of different kinds of integrations that we can build. And it's probably important to start just explaining what some of those are, so you know where you can do your extensibility. So what we've got is two kinds of integrations. First, we have hosting integrations. These are the things that are going to run on your server. There might be a language like Rust. I hear that's a popular one in Aspire at the moment. Seen some posts around that recently.
Yeah.
Databases, caches, all that kind of stuff. Things that you need hosted as part of your application that you're building.
Right.
But then there's the other side of that as well, isn't there, David?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we've got client integrations, and this is really the consuming aspect. So in the hosting integrations, we'll model our resources, and in the client integrations, that's where we actually use configuration to connect to the resources that we've configured back in our app host. And we'll register dependency injection, and there's a whole slew of different things that are available out of the box. But I think we're going to be focusing on some different aspects of that today.
Exactly. And the other reason that we both wanted to do this session is you possibly saw the announcement yesterday in the keynote, if you watched the keynote for .NET Conf, or it was also mentioned in the session that Maddie and Damien did around a new project that we've been working on called the .NET Aspire Community Toolkit. Basically, .NET Aspire itself has a whole bunch of integrations built in it, so that you can just install the NuGet packages, but they're not going to cover every single scenario. So we wanted a way that we could have people contribute those without having to essentially join the engineering process that is for building .NET Aspire. So it's an open source project. It was officially launched yesterday. We've had it kind of in a soft launch, so people have found it. We've been building out the docs, and Dave and I have been writing a whole bunch of the content there for that. But now, we're there. We're proper. We're able to be found, and I think we still have green builds. That screenshot is from a few days ago before we did some more tweaks to it. But
I love that. Right? Yeah. Green builds are always a promising sign of an open source repository, right? That's great.
Exactly. So if you want to learn more, you can jump over to the GitHub repo there, the aka.ms/community toolkit/aspire, or follow the QR code. And well, you know what? Rather than go through a whole bunch of slides, people might have noticed that it says there's 57 slides in here, and David commented on that just before, because he's like, wait, there's 57 slides, but you know what? Let's park the slides. Let's actually build an integration, because, like you said, we're the last session of the day, so let's have a bit of fun and make sure that this is, we have some code in it. So I have the Community Toolkit project, and we're going to build a new integration for the Community Toolkit. How's that sound?
That sounds amazing, but I'm curious. This is Visual Studio Code I'm seeing?
Oh, yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, everyone always codes in Visual Studio and does all their demos in that, but I came from a web development background, so I've used VS Code for a long time, and you know what? We've got this really awesome C# dev kit extension, and I wanted to show that off and show that like you can do all the sorts of things that you'd be doing in Visual Studio in VS Code. So if you're not working on a Windows machine, you're on Mac or Linux, you can have the same good development experience. In fact, I'm actually doing this inside of a dev container. So I'm using WSL
Ooh.
on my Windows box, but then I'm running it inside of a container. So like,
Yeah.
let's add a bunch of complexity to this. So, and this is all like going to be live coding. Nothing could possibly go wrong.
I love that. I love how you just kind of set the stage for the potential of failure later on.
Exactly, exactly. So I've already set up my environment a little bit. Like I said, this is the Community Toolkit repo. I've got the C# Dev Kit extension, so I've got the Solution Explorer. So like we can see that as the kind of thing that you'd be familiar with, obviously, if you're coming from Visual Studio. And I'm just going to add a new project.
Well, while you're doing that, I do want to pump the brakes really quick because
Oh yeah,
I just saw something, and I don't know if anyone else is familiar with this, but the Community Toolkit for Aspire it is brand new, right? We just announced it officially within the last 2 days. There was a soft launch, a little bit before that, but I want to express the appreciation for the number of hosting and client integrations that already exist within this project. So it's kind of mind-boggling. So if you enumerate this right away, we've got the data API builder for Azure, static web apps, Dino, Go language, Java. I just said Java in a .NET Conf. Wow. Right? Node extensions, Olama, Python, Rust, and just recently, SQL database projects, right? So there's a bunch of things that are already built and available in this community
yep,
toolkit. That's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, like we've got like a dozen things here, and actually, just this morning, we created the Python extension. So if you're using, say, Uvicorn to run your Python application rather than just Python.exe, like you can do that. And we're looking at a couple other ways that we can do it. So, and then that's just building on top of the Python hosting integration that's already available from .NET Aspire. Same with the Node stuff. Like we support using Yarn and PNPM because people were wanting those, but the Aspire team doesn't have the capacity to tackle every single permutation of like Node Package Manager or runtimes. There's 4 additional runtime languages: Node, Dino, Dino, Golang, Java, and Rust. Right?
Exactly.
We
Yep.
can't expect all of those to be in the box with Aspire, and that's why we wanted a project where like a community environment where we can build these out.
Awesome. So this is our extensibility point for things that aren't going to live in the product. And take it away, new project.
Exactly. So yeah, we got to create a new project. And you know what? I feel like we need to add yet another runtime. Let's add Bun because if you're doing JavaScript now, you can do Node.js, you can do Dino, or you can do Bun, and it's kind of fighting out for which is the superior one to use at the moment. And I'm sure people in the comments will chime in on which one they reckon is the best.
Yeah, we're not trying to cause any debates here, but I think there are some opinions that will be shared, right?
Exactly.
There's not really harsh opinions in the JavaScript community. Is that what you were kind of inferring?
No one's strongly opinionated there. Right. So I'm going to create just a class library. Following our naming convention of community toolkit.aspire.hosting, because this is going to be a hosting package, and then Bun being the thing that we're going to be hosting. And I'm just going to pop it in the default directory. So this will pop up here in our source. And we've got our file here. And I do need to do one other thing, because we wanted to really look like the way that the Aspire works and the Aspire kind of processes work. We also have some public API validation to make sure that we're actually broadcasting what's in the public API. So I'm just going to add our public API. Whoa, where'd my screen go? Whoops.
Uh-oh.
I went full screen, and I'm not on a full screen machine. I'm on a widescreen monitor, so I've just sliced out my little window for the screen share, and yeah, when I go full screen, it was.
It didn't like that. It didn't like.
No, I did not like that at all. Okay, so I've generated some files in the background, but let's rename this. I'm going to put this in the namespace so that it's easily discoverable of aspire.hosting. Because that way, just when you add this as an integration, it will just immediately appear on the builder dot button. And we're going to create some extension methods. So we're going to rename this from to Bun app extensions.
So, and the
Very
reason you're doing the namespace Aspire hosting is the app host project in Aspire actually has an implicit global using for aspire.hosting. Therefore, it's already there. So when you see your top level program statements for the app host, you don't actually have to say using Aspire hosting or .hosting.
Exactly.
And then this will actually just light up
and
with these extensions.
and this will just so this will just light up immediately for you as well.
Love it.
All right, so Copilot's attempting to figure out what we want to do, but it's not quite right. So we're going to create a public static, and then we're going to return an iResource builder because we're returning the resource builder that you're going to use to then create out the thing that you want inside of your Aspire integration.
Got it.
And this is going to return a particular resource type. So we'll create a new resource type called bun app resource. And then using the convention, so it'll be add bun app. And then we will take a distributed application builder, because that's what we're going to be starting from. And we'll have that as builder. And then we got to pass in some arguments for it. So for an integration, we're going to need a name for that integration. So that's the thing that, whoa, that's a lot of things that Copilot is going to want.
I love that.
So we're going to need a name. So I'm going to use something that's new in Aspire 9, which is a resource name attribute. So this then combines with a analyzer to make sure that we're giving a name to our resource that is going to conform to the naming conventions that Aspire has in it. So give it a name. For bun, we're going to need, say, a string working directory. Actually, make that optional, default that to null. And then we'll also need some kind of an entry point. We'll make that a entry point, and we'll call that not .net, index.ts, because bun will natively launch TypeScript files.
Love that. Cool.
Okay. And well, I mean, Copilot's actually done a pretty good job here. I mean, I don't have a bun resource yet, but yeah, like that looks kind of what we're going to do. We're going to create our app resource, and then we're going to give that to the builder. So that then it's part of our Aspire application. Let's create that resource type. So we'll create a bun resource, and this is where we have different kinds of resources. Because bun is an executable, we're going to use the executable resource as the underpinning type. But if you were, say, hosting a container, you could use container resource and things like that. Or if you wanted to go real primitive, you can just use resource or the iResource interface and implement all the basic stuff yourself. We're going to need the name of that, and we're going to give that the working directory. And then the executable resource is going to need that name. It's going to need the executable to run, which will be bun, and then the working directory that we're running with inside of. Done. And so working directory, here we go. I've said that it's potentially nullable. So we'll do working directory or path.combine, and we're just going to say, we'll go up a directory and use the name. So just kind of a convention, like, if you didn't give us a working directory, we're just kind of going to guess what a working directory might be.
Right.
Okay, last thing, we probably need to use that entry point. So I'm going to add that as arguments to this application when this resource that gets started. So we'll use the with args, there we go. And then that is going to take in an array of args. So run an entry point. That's basically all we're going to need. Okay. And that's it. Like, that's an integration built.
So just to wrap my head around this, we've got an extension that's in the aspire.hosting namespace. The extension method is extending the iDistributed application builder, and it's called add bun app. It's returning an iResource builder of our new bun app resource that we just defined. And that resource is an executable resource. So we're leveraging some of the existing Aspire primitives. And we're simply walking up to the builder and adding that new resource and saying, run basically bun with our entry point. So it's really kind of easy to mentally parse all the moving parts here. And this is only 20 lines of code. So that's pretty compelling. And this is the hosting. I just want to remind everyone, this is the hosting integration aspect of things.
Correct. Yeah. So this and this is how you then would add something to your Aspire dashboard when we hit F5 and launch our debugger.
Got it.
Just for brevity's sake, I've just added a compiler warning, disabled a compiler warning, which is about the public API stuff. We'll clean this up a little bit later before we ship it.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we've written it, we may as well write and let's actually use it. So I'm going to create a new sample application. We'll use the app host here, and we'll create this in a new folder called bun, and we'll call this Community Toolkit Aspire Hosting Bun App Host. We'll create it in that directory. Come into here, and then we're going to add a project reference. So again, I might be in VS Code, but I'm doing all the things you would be doing normally inside of Visual Studio, right? I'm just right click, add reference, and all that sort of stuff.
Or your favorite IDE that supports, it's under the covers, it's all just .NET, right? So I know JetBrains Rider, they just came out recently with a free version, and they have an official plugin for Aspire. So whatever you're comfortable with,
Exactly. Okay, so we've got our app host here. Now, I do need to add an is Aspire project reference of false. Otherwise, Aspire is going to kind of generate that autocomplete where you do add project and then you give the generic of projects. Well, we don't want you're not actually going to start our integration just because it happens to be a project within inside the same solution. So we'll just tell it to ignore that a little bit. Okay, so let's come back into our builder here, and if we were to say go bar API equals builder dot add bun, and we realize that this is live coding and something has gone wrong. That's all right. We'll fix that in a moment. API and there we go.
Right? It's expecting
it should be bun app. There we go. But it still is unhappy about something. Aspire dot see, it should be no, that's hosting is spelled correctly.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Did I? Let's have a look. So is Aspire project reference. Let me check to make sure I did write that correctly. And project resource. My mistake.
Yes.
I was hoping Copilot would have helped me out, but no. There we go. add Aspire project resource. There we go. Now we have our add bun app done. We're going to add we're going to create a HTTP app. So we're going to say with HTTP endpoint. And because this is built off of just primitives within inside of Aspire, I don't have to tell it what the concept of HTTP is. I just used the methods that I would be using for any other integration that's there. And we'll say the port, just put it on port 3000. You could have Aspire dynamically assign the port. It's up to you. Or what do we want to do? Do we want to do dynamically assigned, or do we want to do hard coded?
Well, a lot of them are hard or dynamically. So why don't we just do a hard coded one to demonstrate that it's flexible, right? This is all parameterized, and you can specify it however you feel.
Well, I wanted to show that we can how we pass environment variables through, and that they'll just get magically covered for us as well. So
yes.
Well, okay. Well, let's do one, and then we'll come back and we'll change it later.
Okay, do it. Yeah.
Okay. Last but not least, we actually need to create that bun app that we're going to start up, because at the moment it's going to do something and we don't actually know what it's going to do.
Well, what would it do? Conceptually thinking, it would just say run bun, and there's no index TS, and it would probably not be happy.
Exactly, yeah. But there we go. Okay, so we'll scaffold out our bun application, and if we come into not the Solution Explorer this time, we'll come into here. We'll see that. Oh, I put it in the wrong location. Let's just move all these files into there.
Moving node modules directories during live demos has never been a concern.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No, remember, we're using bun, so it's super fast.
Yeah. Bear in mind, there's already a Dino hosting integration, right?
There is. So there's plenty of node modules inside of here. And then because last time I decided to write a bun application, I realized I didn't know how to do that. I'm going to copy and paste the one that I tried earlier. There we go. And I've got in here process.m.port, so we access that port that is dynamically provided from
The environment
Aspire,
variable.
and
Yeah.
let's just inject that properly into here. That could be dollars.
Yep.
There we go. That and that. There we go. Okay. So let's see if we can
fingers
debug
crossed.
this. Debug bun app host and
Bum bum bum.
you know what? I'm just going to reload my VS window. I saw that there were still some errors happening. Sometimes because of the way like adding projects doesn't necessarily kick off the debugger's awareness of the projects. So restarting it is easy enough.
I thought you would have picked up on my bad joke there where I said bun bun bun.
Bum bum bun. Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, no, I'm going to make the demo work and ignore the bad jokes. And okay, let's launch it from the command line instead. So let's come in. Where was that project? It was in examples bun, and then we'll come into the app host project and we'll do .NET run. So we can run from command line as well as F5 debugging. Obviously, I'm not going to have debugging launched here. And we're going to really trust the fact that I've written this code correctly.
Wait for it.
What?
Pause for a dramatic effect.
Pause for dramatic effect. Let's launch our app host here.
Bun,
Huzzah!
bun, bun. Wow, it's working.
It is. We have our console logs. We'll see that the server is up and running at that location.
And that's a dynamic port. That was
and that's 38. A dynamic port.
Yeah.
So if we go to this port, now because I am running this in a dev container, it doesn't do automatic port forwarding of the ports that are dynamically generated. So I just come into the ports section inside of my bottom here and then add that port. And then if we come back, hello, bun.
That's amazing. Wow, it works just like that. So, I mean, that was pretty quick. In all honesty, like that wasn't super hard.
No.
And it's pretty compelling because there are literally thousands of like opportunities to add different languages and platforms and services and you name it. So if there's something that you depend on that we haven't heard of, you know, I guess the question for you, Aaron, would be, how do you think people should get involved? Like, what should they be doing? Should they just come push pull requests to your repo, or do you want issues first, or like what are you looking for?
Yeah, I mean, so probably a good start is a bunch of these links that I've got here, like so you can find everything. So we had an announcement blog post go out today. It tells a bit more about the projects and the background, the reason behind it, and also the difference between the Aspire Community Toolkit and the Aspire core repo. So like if I want to raise an issue, where do I raise one, and like which project do I gravitate towards? Obviously check out the docs as well, because we have a bunch of existing integrations. So we may already have one that's covering off something that you're looking for. So see if they're there, and if the docs need work, obviously we can work on that as well. And then the GitHub repo. So that is a good place obviously to go if you want to propose a new integration. Come and submit an issue to us, open up a discussion about one and a few things like that, and get involved. Like send us a pull request if you've got the idea of an integration. So the SQL database projects was actually a community members. They approached us and said, "Hey, got an idea for this." Similarly with Rust. Golang, like they've actually come from people outside of Microsoft.
That's awesome.
And yeah, also if you want to learn more about building integrations, obviously we really did a speed run through that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can check out the docs at on the Aspire docs at ak.ms/hosting Aspire .NET Aspire hosting integrations and client integrations, and they walk through in a lot more detail around the sorts of things that you can build, how you would then kind of craft out your API and that kind of stuff, and walk you through that kind of building experience.
Absolutely, yeah. The hosting and client integration docs are really a great source for that, because we talk deeply about. We go a lot deeper with the hosting aspect and a lot deeper with the client, and then how to glue those things together. So be sure to check it out.
Yeah, and that's actually where I learned a lot of how we built the stuff that we're like walked through just a moments ago, and built out the community toolkit is like going through those docs.
Awesome.
So I think we're just about out of time. I'm seeing the little countdown timer in my peripheral vision going red, red, red. But that
well,
was
we're only on slide 10 of 57, Aaron. Come on.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to click really fast to get. The other thing that we're working on with the community toolkit is .NET 9 support. So hopefully we're going to have that by the end of the week, and then we'll release the official 9.0 packages for the community toolkit. But I might have lied. We might not have had 57 slides. There might just be a whole bunch of hidden template slides in the deck that I never deleted.